Sure shot, baby!
So, good day, everyone. We're here for another episode of the DVD show. So, for today, we have one of my favorite play-by-play anchors in the PBA, and a lot of you guys know him because of his like phrases and the way he calls games because it's very entertaining. And he's also one of the guys that told me to start a podcast like here the DVD show because of his own podcast called 2OT. So I'll now welcome here to the DVD show Magoo Marjon. Thank you for joining me here.
Thanks for the invite, man.
Yeah. So to start things off, I just want to ask how have you been doing and what have you been doing since there's no PBA games for you to call right now.
I've just been watching a lot of the NBA and some baseball on the side.
Oh,
And
okay. So
enjoying. Mostly the mornings are filled up. Pagdating ng hapon, yun, naghahanap na ng gagawin.
how about with your family naman and the stuff at home? Or how's life been doing? Even it became ECQ again, and then now we're like at ECQ. How are you guys coping up with the pandemic, or like what activities do you guys do?
That's just basically boring right now. Ang pinakamahirap is yung walang kinikita. Walang pumapasok masyado because no work, no pay. This line of work is no work, no pay. Until there's no basketball, there's nothing to, di ba? Hindi kikita ng pera.
Okay. So even with that, and since you started 2OT naman, are there any other stuff you've been doing or more of talaga sa 2OT na?
We haven't even been doing that much of 2OT lately because walang topic eh. Priority namin sa 2OT is quality over quantity. So if there's no real big thing or issue na pwedeng pagkwentuhan, hindi na lang, nagkakwentuhan na lang kami off-air, kami nila Carlo and si Guaps, our producer there. We don't want to force it, so we don't. I think for 2021, we've done 4 shows or 5 shows. That's about it.
Okay. So but do you have any future plans naman with 2OT since you said nga you like it if the topic's really nice but you don't like force it to have an episode like every week. So kamusta naman yung plans niyo for that?
We just can't wait till everything gets restarted. It is looking good right now for the PBA to open up by the end of June. I think everything went without a hitch. Just mga bubble training nila, not really bubble. Well, TNT Meralco and TNT Meralco had a bubble in Ilocos. And Lex was in Pampanga, and the other 9 teams were in Batangas, pero closed circuit sila, hindi talaga bubble. So wala namang naging mga problema as far as I know. So looking good, mukhang matutuloy naman na magre-request na sila Willie, and then hopefully tuloy-tuloy na. And then once that happens, magkakaroon ng something to talk about, some topics.
So, kano ka excited ka naman with the resumption nga of the PBA? Kasi you mentioned na nga na baka mag-start na in like a month or even less than a month. How excited are you with the draftees and even with the new acquisitions of some of the teams?
It's always something to look forward to every time it's the start of a new season, although or albeit sobrang delayed na ngayon. Pero you just want to see the new blood get infused into the league and see how they fare. See, are they worth the hype, this and that? Especially this batch. We know probably all of us, including you, maybe a dozen, maybe a little more than a dozen of them really. Pero because there was no D-League, because there was no college ball in the last year, ang hirap i-gauge how these guys will fare on this level. It is the highest level of basketball in the Southeast Asia, not just the Philippines, but Southeast Asia. So you just want to see them in action. When we did the draft nga in March, parang ang hirap. Of course, magre-research ka, YouTube, you'll see highlights. Pero syempre sa YouTube, sa highlights, wala nagmimintis dun eh.
Oh,
They'll always punch out their best stuff. Iba yung whole games. You gotta watch not just one. Just to really know a player, maybe a handful of games talaga kailangan mo panoorin to see how he really plays, how he really reacts. I'm just looking forward to that to see how these young guns fare in the league.
Okay. So even with the draft, like if it's stacked like first round until maybe even the third or fourth round, are there some names that come to mind that you feel that they might crack the rotation right away, or they might prove themselves right away at the PBA level? Because not sometimes some players get shocked initially and it takes them a year, 2 years to adjust to the playing style of the PBA. But you have some names that might be successful right away, or they might get minutes right away.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Andre Paras does. Last time I saw that guy was a couple of years ago in real action sa D-League. Pero he wasn't he's not Kobe, he's not Benji, he's not his dad, he's not his brother, he's his own guy. And how he was playing in the D-League, he was pulling down 20, 24, 23, 22 rebounds a game. He'll only score 12, sometimes single digit scoring, pero he concentrated on the rebounding and the defense. And I think malaking bagay sa PBA magkaroon ng mga ganong klaseng player. Just recently retired Mark Pingris. He's a guy that would not give you 30 points a game, pero he was all heart. He did the dirty work all the time. Syempre, pagka to make a name for yourself sa college and sa D-League or some other leagues, scoring talaga, di ba? Pero bira ka makakita ng role player na mapansin to get drafted like that. And you see superstars or pseudo superstars or some really good guys from college and it doesn't pan out pagdating sa PBA kasi syempre mas marami magaling here. Kung sobra kang galing, puro magaling din yung kasabay mo. Ngayon, meron kang role player like Andre Paras who concentrated on something like that na puro rebound, puro defense, something like what Ping did, something like what way back in the day Dennis Rodman did. Nowadays, something that Draymond Green does for the Warriors, except for the assists, of course, that's Draymond ang galing din. Pero may niche na there will be a role and I see that guy getting minutes on the PBA stage. Kasi nga, he's a guy that won't demand the ball. Ang daming magaling sa PBA on any given lineup of 15. 10 dyan pwedeng maging superstar. Di ba? And this guy, role player, you know what you're gonna get. And sa system, sa mga coach, mabibigyan ng break yung ganyang klase.
Yeah, I agree with you because Blackwater also, I think that's why they got him and Raymark Akuno because they didn't have bigs on their team. And they have a lot of guards that are really good already, like sila Basera Mer, Mike Colomia, and they don't need to get more guards, even if people like Melesio, I think, were still available. Karakot, they were still in the draft. They decided not to get those guards because they already have a ton of them. So why not, take your chance on Andre Paras? And you mentioned, that he's a hard worker and he'll do his role. So maybe he can flourish with Blackwater since he'll get minutes right away.
Because the last time I saw him, he had a renewed vigor for basketball. This is a guy that's gifted. He's gifted. He's tall. He's got a little athleticism, not like Kobe, of course. We don't want to over-exaggerate, but he's got skill din naman. Pero there was a time na parang hindi na siya interested sa basketball. Pero yung last conference na nakita ko siya sa PBA D-League, parang nanumbalik yung passion na parang he wanted to prove that his family name can, di ba? Kasi syempre may pressure yun. Anak ka ng the only rookie MVP in PBA history. Parang nanumbalik yung gusto na parang yung basketball bumalik sa dugo niya and I saw the fire in him. So hopefully it pans out for him. Hopefully he's doing great work right now in Batangas. I think they might be on their way back to or they might start practicing in Manila by next week, I think. So all the way to the season, hopefully that guy pans out.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It's not also a popular answer because others would maybe say the first round picks na lagi nang pinag-uusapan. But I like the answer since also it's like hindi masyadong sikat na player in terms of on draft, second round siya na pick. Pero you never know, baka mas magaling pa siya sa mga ibang na pick.
Yeah, it's happened in the past. Mga classic stories niya na PJ Simon, Topix Robinson. These guys were 4th, 5th round picks, di ba? So meron pang mga undrafted like Josh Urban Stondo. You never know what you'll find until you work with certain players, until they go into your camp or your training for maybe a week or two. That's when coaches really find out yung mga uncut gems or yung mga rough players. Hopefully, may mga makita din in this batch.
How about sa mga trades naman or acquisitions, is there something that caught your eye? I mean, obvious naman yung mga CJ Perez, Stan Harding, or Abueva. But then, how about, are there any other trades or signings that caught your eye? Because me, for example, Mac Bello to Meralco, I feel that's very important because Meralco, when they lost to Ginebra, it was like they lost on one possession lang yata. Pero if Mac Bello's there, parang he can provide a scoring presence and help Chris Newsome and maybe what's this, Reynel Hogdatan also, because the others are mga role players like sila Cliff Hodge. They're not really a scorer first type of players. So maybe adding Mac and then Alvin Pasaol also, it might propel Meralco to the finals again with an all Filipino. What do you think about those?
Yung Alvin Pasaol, I remember back in the day when Mac Cardona burst onto the scene. Galing niya sa college, galing niya sa, di ba? Pero I never thought he would play that well in the PBA. Mac is good. Mac was good. Pero iniisip ko nun, yung mga teardrop niya, bubutatain lang yan ito malalaki sa PBA, yung mga super athletic, ganito, ganun, di pa forma. Pero what a welcome surprise, si Mac, ginawa niya yun on the PBA, ang dami niyang binaboy. On the PBA stage, di ba, maano pa yan ng height mo, every time he pulls one off. Yun yung tingin ko ngayon kay Alvin Pasaol. Galing niya sa college, galing niya sa 3x3 game. Gusto ko makita how he plays on the PBA stage. Mache-check ba siya? Because he's not the most athletically gifted. We gotta admit that. He's a little chubby for his size. Ganito, ganun. Pero if he can pull off the same things he's been doing on the lower levels on the PBA stage, that would be the challenge for him. Yung Mac Bello naman, ito yung I think yung kicker para kay Coach Norman. Remember when Coach Cheng was quoted as saying the Philippine Cup's going to be a four-horse race or four-team race? Of course, you're talking about San Miguel Beer, Barangay Ginebra, Magnolia, and TNT. May point si Coach Cheng doon. You can't argue with that. Pero nung si Coach Norman a couple of weeks after was saying, but of course, qualifier. Si Coach Cheng, maraming sinasabi si Coach Cheng na ganyan, just to challenge his team too. Parang sinasabi kagad niya, mahina tayo. His Red Bull days, yung mga, barya-barya lang kami dito. Mahilig si Coach Cheng sa ganyan eh. So, there may be an angle that it's true, but si Coach Cheng, you can tell, he also has an angle na baka china-challenge niya yung sarili niyang team. Si Coach Norman naman nagsabi, no, it's not just a four-team race. Some other teams might have a chance. And I think Coach Norman knows that because he got Mac Bello now. Diba, Meralco's been solid, and as you said, parang one or two pieces away na lang. Yung offense nila, nakita natin sa bubble, there were nights that it would sputter, and hirap na hirap sila to get anything from anybody pagka na-check na sila Newsan. May Belo ka, may Pasaol ka. I think that's as long as Raymond Almazan stays healthy for them because they need that size. I think Meralco can compete, can barge into those four front runners. Yun na lang, hindi na four-horse race. Front runners talaga apat. Hands down naman talaga, di ba? I don't think anybody can argue. Yung apat na yun yung favorites, outstanding favorites ngayon. Pero may mga sisingit dyan.
I agree also. Kasi si, Yang Yao, when he said that, I think in an interview, Calvin of Tana was like, what was your reaction to Coach Yang's statement? He was like, baka he's just motivating us and telling us to work hard. Kasi kilala na niya. He hasn't even been there for like a month yet. He already knows what to expect. Kasi siguro baka sinabi ni Kiefer or he heard it from other players before. So maybe that's a great method for him to motivate his players. And Lex talaga, they're never say die. Like Jericho Cruz, you could really see their play style. So I don't think they'll just bow down easily.
I gotta agree with that. Yeah. Coach Cheng has his ways. He's been here forever and it has worked. Multi-titled coach na rin yan. So let's see. Hopefully. Because you want to see everybody compete. There are 12 teams and you see maybe 9 or 10 of them really up there trying to compete. Hopefully we get quality games out of it.
Yeah. Are there any other signings, acquisitions that impressed you, or was it more of the Meralco one only? I mean, the other big three ones were obvious, but is there anything else?
I like the draft pick of TNT with Williams. Virtual unknown, pwede mo sabihin, kasi yun nga eh. We don't have tape on the guy because 1 year ngang walang basketball eh. So should be really interesting. I know he's a high draft pick and all that, pero there are people saying might be the second coming of Jason Castro. An even a little bigger version of Jason. So hopefully you gotta remember, if you remember correctly, or if I remember correctly, si Jason Castro back in the day was the third overall pick as well.
Yeah.
Pero TNT gave up Jay Washington for the draft rights to Jason Castro. And Jason Castro, maingay yung pangalan niya nun because kinuha siya ng Singapore Slingers. Naglaro sila sa NBL sa Australia.
Yeah.
He wasn't, pero di ba? Pero he came from PCU and this and that. He was good, pero he wasn't back-to-back best point guard in Asia good back then, di ba? So, things like that, yung Williams, I want to see that guy, how he plays. TNT already moved di ba? Enciso for him, and Enciso played great.
Yeah.
Enciso was playing great in the bubble. So, for them to move a guy like Simon Enciso, it should be really promising, di ba?
Yeah, for instance, when I saw Mikey play in Mighty Sports, it was only around one or two games that I watched because some of the games were, I think, in midnight, past midnight. I watched a few of it, and he was really impressive. And initially, I didn't even know he was Filipino. I thought he was one of the imports they played. But then in MBPL, I didn't really get to see him. But then when I saw him in Mighty, I could see that he could really flourish also in the PBA. And maybe he'll change also his play style a bit because he'll play with Jason initially. So he will play like the 2 guard maybe or 3 guards. It's Pogoy is also there.
Yeah. Should be an interesting mix over at TNT. Isa pa na nagustuhan, the draft picks of Alaska. I think Alaska's rounding out. They were playing great basketball in the bubble. It just so happened, for me personally, minalas lang sila. Excuse me. They ran into TNT. They ran into TNT in the knockout stage. And in first half they competed, but they just got blown away in the second half. I think if they faced anybody else back then, they would have been good. But now they've made certain moves for their squad as well. I like the draft picks they got. Let's see how Coach Jeff molds them into form, into what he wants.
Yeah, Ben Adamos is underrated. Like I haven't seen him play a lot, but in Perpetual I've seen him a bit. But in the D League, I think that's where he really that's where his draft stock rose. So for me, that's why they got him over. I think Muyang pa and Reich and Laput. So that's why Coach Jeff loves him. And for Taylor Brown,
he wanted the size talaga, especially because wala na si Sonny Thos, di ba?
Oh, wala na. Si Taylor Brown, parang love na love ni Carlo yun eh. Carlo pa festival. We watched him for one game. It's like sobrang shooter talaga. Eh, kailangan sa PBA talaga ng ganun.
Yeah. Nakakatawa nga, we talked to Taylor Brown on 2T. When he played against Mighty in the Jones Cup, he was with Canada. Talagang nag-usap sila ng coach niya that he needs to have a breakout performance because he wanted to leave an impression. Kasi nga, that was the only time he was going to get to showcase himself. And hindi naman niya pinahiyang. Ganda nun nilaro ng bata, di ba?
Yeah, and he was unknown. Like when he guested also on Mikey and then 2OT, parang people weren't familiar with who he was.
Solid. So, yun nga. And what's his name? Yung asawa ni Riza? That guy's athletic, man. That guy is that guy's athletic. I want to see what kind of skill he has. The athleticism, it seems to be there, pero yung skill level, haven't really seen him play. So, yun ang isa ko pang gusto makita.
Yeah. So, when moving on with the Gilas, because Gilas Filipinas, they played also in the 3-on-3 recently, and there were a lot of disappointed people because of the last place finish. But you personally, were you able to watch the games, and what were your main observations from the 4 or 5 games that they played?
3x3 is a completely different game. It is to compete on that level. You and me, we can play it. I was playing it. Iba siya sa half court na ano eh. Yung half court na labasan, regular half court tatluan. 3x3, grabe yung pace niya, grabe. So ibang-iba yung diskarte. I try and play it. Me and my friends, iba yung hingal. If people out there want to try it, try playing it exactly at the same rules. Pagdating nyo ng 21 points, hingal na kayo. It's 21 points or 10 minutes eh. Ibang-iba yung laro. These super athletes, they tried to play it, but they practiced for 2-3 weeks. That's not going to cut it on that level. Maybe locally, pwede yan. Because gifted naman eh. Gifted yung mga player natin. CJ Perez, of course, Joshua Monzon, he's been playing 3x3 forever. And the other guys there. Gifted naman sila. Pero iba yung 3x3 game. We only had 2 guys who played 3x3 regularly on that squad. So, yun na naman yun. Lack of preparation ang nangyari siguro for me.
Yeah, there were a lot of rumblings nga na yung sila Troy Reich hindi nasama. They were the ones that made us qualify, and yun nga, players were criticizing it because sila CJ and sila Mo, maybe they weren't used to playing 3-on-3 because they played it only in SEA games. But I don't know, for me nga, it's the training. Also with like similar to the 2019 Gilas World Cup, dun nagka-problema din tayo sa training, kulang lang like 1 month, and nakita mo naman na hirap sila to play, wala kang chemistry. So similar din, kasi here they were like chalking up threes pag wala nang play, kasi 12 seconds lang yung shot clock eh. So medyo mahirap.
Ibang-iba yung rhythm eh. Ibang-iba yung rhythm eh. And the passing. Iba yung passing doon, iba yung rhythm doon. At saka ang pinakamagulo talaga doon, on any made basket, play continues. No celebration, di ba? And speaking of training, yun naman ang gusto ko ngayon sa ginagawa ng Gilas Pilipinas. They've been in and out of Calamba for the last couple of months, and that is a good thing. Coach Jong Chico, Coach Tab Baldwin, and the rest of the coaching staff there, grabe yung ginagawa nila, intensive preparations. And just today, Kai Sotto already in the country. We're not sure though if he can play on the 16th because of the protocols. But I'm not sure din kung baka magkaroon ng mas maigsing quarantine yung bata because he's vaccinated. I'm not 100% sure, but he's most probably vaccinated.
Yeah.
He's most probably vaccinated. So baka magkaroon ng ano dyan, di ba? Doon magkatalo, baka 7 days lang yung quarantine or ano. Let's see what happens. He just got in. We'll see what happens, how they deal with it. Pero he already said he's going to be here all the way to the OQT. So even if he doesn't play the pocket tournament in Clark, at least he's gonna be with the team para sa OQT. Andiyan na siya, di ba?
So for you, it's okay pa rin kahit isama siya, kasi yung ibang tao parang sinasabi na bakit siya isasama because he didn't train with the team, and the team has been training for, if you mentioned, like several months already. Tapos siya,
2 months lang naman. 2 months. Kailan ba sila nag-start?
No,
I think
they practiced
5 weeks, 6 weeks eh.
Before ECQ, they were there na, diba? Tapos they left, tapos bumalik sila. Parang ganun. So,
yeah.
Some people are saying na yung sacrifice ng mga yon masyadong malaki. And si Kai, he did train and he's still gonna make the team. So, for you, is that fine?
You can't. The guy is 7'2". The guy is 7'2". Of course, even before pa naman, I think when he got invited, Coach Tab was already saying he's going to need to be here a minimum of 3 weeks before. So I don't know how that's going to get ironed out. Dahil yun nga nakapag-prepare ka na matagal eh. It's happened so many times, especially with Andre Blatch. He'll show up a week or 2 before. But that's Andre Blatch. This is Kai Sotto. So, syempre may levels in eh. Kumbaga may import ka para may Andre Blatch ka. Kahit na 7 days na nagpa-practice o 10 days, ganun. You have to include the guy in the lineup. Let's see how they deal with the Kai. I think ang pinakamalaking problema nila yung mandated quarantine. That's going to be the biggest problem. Kasi he still can't train with the team. If he's going to be in quarantine, I think he will have to be in quarantine at least for 5 days. I'm not too sure. Pero yung government mandated quarantine, that's going to be the biggest problem. Because if he is allowed to go into Calambana, at least he gets to train with them. Kahit na hindi pa siya mag-train, kahit nasa gilid lang siya because baka kailangan naka-mask siya, naka-shield siya, hindi pa siya pwede makahilo-hilo. We're not sure how it's gonna happen. It's gonna play out in the next couple of days. Excuse me. Pero if he gets to join them, why not? Pero if he's gonna be in quarantine for 2 weeks and he's gonna show up 1 day before, wag na dapat. Doon na lang siya sa OQT. Di ba? Doon na lang sa OQT gamitin. Wag na dapat. It's all gonna be up to how long he's gonna be in quarantine.
Yeah, but
you can just say sana inagahan na lang kasi, but of course the guy has other commitments, diba?
Same sentiments din naman with you because we really need his size against Ratcliffe. If we're playing Korea twice, we need as many big players as we can to defend him, because I remember in Asian Games we had Clarkson and we still lost to them because of Ratcliffe and the shooters. So I think that's why we need the size to actually try to lessen the production or the impact that Ratcliffe will have on the game, because for sure that'll be a lot.
And yung familiarity factor, the size is there, you need them of course, but if he can't be with them long enough, syempre mas maganda kung train na talaga the next 2 weeks. We're June 1, we're 15 days away from it, diba? From the Clark bubble. Yung familiarity with the system Coach John, Coach Tab, they're working on playing Korea. We're gonna play them twice. That's the only thing on their minds right now, how to defend yung ball swing. how to defend yung ball swing, yung shooting netong Korea, because it is just beautiful basketball eh. Ang sarap panoorin. Pero pagkakalaban siya ng Pilipinas, nakakaasar. Sobrang nakakaasar. Pero you know deep in your heart, ang ganda ng movement nila, ang ganda ng basketball na nilalaro nila. And this team specifically is being built to play them. So if he's not going to be around them enough, hopefully train, but at least be around them enough to be familiar with how everybody's moving. Sa OQT na lang siguro siya magagamit. Size is there, you need him, but what size if you're just gonna stand there, box and one, di ba? Andun yung size mo nasa gitna, pero the other four will have to scamper. Pero hindi rin natin alam, malay mo naman. They've been working on just that. Baka sila Coach Jung, sila Coach Tab, are running defensive schemes right now with just one guy standing in the middle so that he doesn't have to do enough. Malay mo, yun din ang ginagawa nila, di ba? So it's gonna be a really, really interesting next few days to a week maybe. Then we find out.
Yeah, it will be interesting. We haven't seen Gilas play since Bahrain, I believe. And it's really going to be fun to watch them with this new composition of the team.
And you gotta remember also, si Kwame pwede na. Kwame's there.
Yeah.
Angelo Kwame is now a certified naturalized Filipino. He's been working with them for a long while as well. So, naging blessing in disguise baka naging blessing in disguise na nawala yung February window eh. Because si Kwame, wala pang papers ng February. Ngayon pwede na siya. So, there is size kung size yung pag-usapan, pero yung familiarity mas importante sa akin to play somebody like Korea. Hindi sana we're gonna play Indonesia ba? Yung second game?
Indonesia won, Korea twice.
Yeah, it's Korea, Indonesia, Korea. Not to be overconfident or anything, but kaya naman yung Indonesia. Kaya naman yung Indonesia.
Even
it's really Korea you're gearing up for. Yeah. It's really Korea you're gearing up for, and you play them twice, and you want to send a statement. Playing them twice here in Clark, okay, walang fans, but it's gonna be on TV. This sends a statement there. How well you play doesn't matter if you win or lose. Syempre, mas masarap pa rin manalo. Pero if they play well enough, this sets the program this pushes it forward. Yun yung importante. You bear the fruits of the program. They've been working together for a while now. You want to see the results, and hopefully may impress naman lahat ang basketball public sa ginagawa ng SBP ng Gilas Pilipinas.
Yeah. So ikaw, you're in favor of the roster construction naman of the team. Kasi some people, they're kind of against it because they feel na since OQT to, it's like once in a lifetime to make the Olympics. Why don't you make the PBA players play and sacrifice their squads? They're not going to have their superstars for the conference when it starts in June because they're training for Gilas. And yeah, because a lot of it also, I've also read articles that say that it might be early training for Ateneo or something because majority of their players are Ateneo with Coach Tab there. So kawawa naman yung ibang collegiate teams na nasa bahay lang now with Zoom workouts. So syempre ako medyo nagigets ko, pero I'm more of the program pa din kasi now may program na, so may vision ka na to reach the objective na kesa dati na we just get the 12 best or the 15 best. So for you, what are your thoughts naman on those criticisms?
It is early training. Not for Ateneo though. It's early training for 2023. That is what we are gearing up towards. Yung Olympic qualifying, ayaw man natin aminin, hindi, medyo suntok sa buwan yan. Medyo suntok sa buwan naman talaga yan. So why not just give exposure to this next generation of ballers? Even the PBA players naman ayaw na eh. They don't want to play anymore. They want the next generation because the players themselves, yung old Gilas guys, they know this is a program that's working towards 2023. And sila naman, they've served already and all that. And it's hard enough to get the PBA going. It is hard enough with everything that's happened to us in the last 14, 15 months. It is hard enough to just play basketball. Diba? Just to get a 5-on-5 going, napakahirap. Kailangan ng ang daming restrictions, kailangan ng kung ano nung clearance and everything, approval. It's hard enough. Let the PBA be the PBA. Let this next generation get their experience, get the exposure, get to play on that stage. Kasi it will pay dividends para sa 2023. I understand what the SPP is doing here. This is just my personal opinion. But nakukuha ko yung angulo nila eh. Just work on our 2023 hosting because we need to leave a big impression on that one. We need to barge into the 16, into the final 16. We just need to get into the knockout games there. And hopefully, hindi ganun kalakas yung mga kalaban para at least mag-final 8 lang. Okay na yun. Hindi tayo nahihibang. We're not thinking we're gonna win the 2023 World Cup. We're not that big of an idiot. We're not divine. We're not that stupid. Pero we just want to showcase our brand of basketball. Show them a cohesive unit, show them a system that works, and let the cards lie where they may, di ba? Pero we just, tanda natin yung best showing natin, yung kay Coach Chot pa, 13 and 14. Grabe yung training na dinaanan ng mga yun. They were everywhere, and they weren't the best players in the PBA at the time either. Ang daming superstar na wala doon, but it was the best team that Coach Chot could put together. That's exactly what the SPP is doing now. Shades of Gilas 1, shades of Coach Chot's Gilas then. It doesn't necessarily have to be the superstars. It is the best team you can put together within the system that you want to run.
Yeah, I agree also. And I think people need to understand that, and maybe they just don't see that perspective, or they decide just not to listen to it because they'd rather focus on playing like players like Junmar or Matthew Wright, Paul Lee, kasi yun yung magagaling na players. Kaya siguro ganun yung opinion.
Siguro pagdating next year, actually in a couple of years for 2023, actually in 2022, you can start infusing guys like Pogoy and Wright. You can start infusing them into the team, di ba? Kasi for them to be familiar, pero yung core nun, the core, it's like Gilas 1 eh. The core should be there, and then pinasok doon si Jimmy, si Kelly Williams, si Ranidel, and was it Asi? Yeah, Asi. Pinasukan ng 4 na yung Gilas 1 talaga nila Coach Raiko, di ba? Because you need that yung veteran leadership na yan, you need guys that can really play on that level. Hayaan mo na tong cycle na to, and then when everything's back to normal in 2022, you start infusing a guy or two, because Matthew Wright's going to be good for a while. Arpogoy is going to be good for a while, and those are the best 2 shooters we've got right now in all of the Philippines. And I find it hard to imagine those 2, if they're healthy, not being on the 2023 squad. Di ba?
Yeah.
And then if sakali, kung Kai Sotto's good na, pwede ka na mag-Jordan Clarkson as your naturalized. Mukhang hindi talaga papayag ang FIBA na local eh. Even though he's got Filipino blood, mukhang hindi naman talaga papayag. But because we're hosting, malay mo, di ba? If malay mo, pag naging local si Clarkson, pwede ka na mag-Kwame na naturalized. But kung sakaling hindi talaga papayagan, you just use Clarkson as your naturalized, and then you got guys like etong sina Kai, Dwight Ramos, that guy's been really impressive. The guy from LaSalle, si Baltazar. Di ba? And then Junmar's only going to be 33 by then, di ba? 33, 34. So by 2023, we're still going to have a solid lineup.
Yeah, that's a great mix of talent, I guess. You don't need to get all the young guys, but then maybe half or like 3/4, 1/4.
Yeah.
That'll be a great
solid
mix of talent. Kasi especially we need shooters in the world stage, because that's how the international game is played. That's why USA had a tough time. Like they couldn't shoot outside shots in the World Cup. They got surprised. They thought they had the talent. So I think that's how we will also succeed, because like sila Jeff Chan plays better in Gilas sometimes than in the PBA. It's because his playing style fits well for
because of the system, di ba? Because of the system is intact, di ba? Drive and draw and kick. You got shooters on the sides. Yun eh. Kahit sinong player naman eh, mapa NBA, mapa PBA. If you get into the right system, you will look good. You will make a name for yourself. If napuntahan mong team eh, hindi magko-call ng kahit anong play para sa'yo, di ba? Hindi ka bagay doon sa sistema, wala mangyayari sa'yo kahit gaano kagaling ka.
So since you need to go already, Magoo, so that will end our discussion for now. And I hope I can also invite you next time for other discussions, like maybe NBA or other Gilas discussions when there's more games already. But lastly, I want to thank you for joining me here on the DVD show, and I'll really tune into more 2OT episodes when there's more episodes already. And do you have any last message before you go?
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. And alam ko, just like me, alam ko kating-kati ka na rin na bumalik ang local basketball, ang Gilas, ang PBA. So hopefully magtuloy-tuloy na to, and hopefully we get our local hoops back soon. Not just for the income or anything. It's a way of life. It's something, diba? It brings us back to normal. We need it. We need it. We all need it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And people really have a sense of normalcy and a sense of entertainment when there's local hoops back. So I guess that's what we're all waiting for. And it's almost there in middle of June, I think, or late June. That's when they intend to start. Hopefully,
25 daw. So hopefully.
25. Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, thank you again, Magoo. Is it okay if we take a picture before you leave?
No problem. No problem.
Okay, I'll take it
Paano?
from here. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Ayan.
Okay, thank you again, Magoo, for joining me here on the DVD show. Stay safe.
Thank you, sirs.